Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. And I want to talk a little bit about Battlefield today. I want to talk about the Battlefield franchise. More specifically, I want to do a sort of wish list / discussion on Battlefield 2016. You know, what could happen if we see a new Battlefield launch next year? I think that's a very strong possibility. I mean, if they don't launch Battlefield next year, then what's DICE gonna have? What's EA gonna have? You know, EA knows and feels like they have to have something out every single year. You know, since Battlefield 4, we've seen Hardline, we've seen Battlefront. So, Battlefield 5, right? Battlefield 2016 seems like the most logical thing. Now, I want to start by saying that I personally would be 100% okay if we didn't see a new Battlefield until 2017 or the year after that. The longer DICE has to actually develop the next entry, the better it's going to be. Just almost a guarantee. And the better chance they have of avoiding the same ruckus and issues that Battlefield 4 had. The better chance they have of launching a Battlefield that doesn't require over a year to be fixed and repaired before they can finally start focusing on community post-launch DLC like they've done. I mean, despite the disaster that was the launch of Battlefield 4 and plenty of the time after that, DICE has really come through. They've been doing some awesome stuff with the game. The night maps, the community map that they're working on is a prime example of that. You know, the fact that they're literally just letting the community help build that map is so cool. More stuff like that moving into the future. That's honestly one of the first things on my wish list. And while we're on the subject of free content, that's probably one of the other biggest things on my wish list for the next Battlefield. I don't even care if they had to implement some sort of corny, you know, cosmetic microtransaction system. I'm okay with that kind of stuff. I know not everyone is, but, you know, allowing players to maybe purchase like really unique weapon skins or vehicle skins, if that's what it takes to fund free DLC for the game, I'm on board with that. I'd probably even buy some of those. I don't really mind microtransactions in full price games. I know everyone thinks like microtransactions should only go in free to play games. I disagree. A studio, a developer, and a publisher, they all have to make money somehow. And rather than having them charge me $50, $40 for some sort of a map pack that gives me maps and splits the community, I'd much rather see them support free DLC, free maps, much like Halo 5 Guardians is doing, and then just sell cosmetic items to the community. I'd buy them every now and then. Why not? Knowing that everyone is going to be on the same playing field, everyone's going to have the same content, it's just going to help the community. You know, when you start charging people for DLC, it splits the community. That is just the end of it. It's not a good decision in a game that has such a heavy emphasis on its multiplayer community. It doesn't matter what they do for the single player, right? Unless we saw more Bad Company, no one's ever really genuinely going to care about the single player in the Battlefield games. Honestly, Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 having a single player component to me was a waste of resources, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. We all play Battlefield post-launch for the multiplayer. I didn't even finish the campaigns on either Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4. I'm in it for the multiplayer. That is what the special component of the franchise, right? Bad Company obviously was a very special case. You know, cool story, fun characters, slight sandbox world. You know, if they can bring that back, I'm all for it. But until then, just give me the multiplayer. That's what I'm here for. Support the community and the multiplayer because that's what makes Battlefield Battlefield. And if they can do that with free DLC, then I'll be stoked, man. Like, that would be so freaking cool. And again, I'm okay if it requires some sort of cosmetic in-game, you know, market that you have to spend real money on. That would be okay with me. I know everyone's gonna have a different opinion on that, so let me know your thoughts. I mean, pretty much everyone's gonna go one way or the other with that, but we'll see what everyone has to say. Now, obviously, the preservation of what makes Battlefield Battlefield is definitely something that's on that list for everyone. You know, I want to see the game grow. I want to see them come up with new mechanics and concepts, maybe even bring back some old ones and refine them. But I don't want them to lose track of what makes Battlefield Battlefield. I feel like 4 initially kind of started to do that. Like, you know, they had some issues, I think, in the balancing of things and just making sure that everything clicked. But I very much feel like the game has come together really well. You know, they've done a good job with it. I still feel like there's just an excessive emphasis on vehicles maybe a little bit too much. I'd like to see just certain things tuned and refined a little bit more. But again, that's a lot of just small gameplay mechanics discussion. But at the end of the day, you know, Battlefield needs to maintain what makes a Battlefield game Battlefield. I'm okay with that. I don't need them to like go in a completely different direction. I play Battlefield because I want more Battlefield. I want to see the return of Conquest and Rush, you know, and large scale, you know, infantry and vehicle-based warfare. Those components put together are what allow us to have those Battlefield moments that they've used to market the game since the days of Bad Company. You know, that I walked out the door, there was an RPG streaking in front of me, hit a guy in an ATV, his partner bailed off, I pulled out my shotgun and headshotted him. Battlefield moments, right? That's practically like one of the main highs for playing Battlefield are those specific moments. Of course, you have all the other chaos, the team-based combat and, you know, squad-based combat, the vehicles, all of that stuff. Just, that's Battlefield, right? You know, preserve that. But obviously, you know, push the game in some new directions, help things grow, make changes that matter. Probably one of the biggest pet peeve things that I put on my list, though, is do away with battle log. Just get rid. If you want it to be a second screen experience where people can look up their statistics and have the option to modify their loadouts and search for browse servers, that's fine. But making it mandatory on PC and making it mandatory for players to modify their loadouts either in-game or through battle log on the console was one of the silliest moves they ever made. Not to mention they tried to pull away the squad system in Battlefield 4, which did end up seeing a return because of community demand and because the original system never worked like they intended it. There are certain things that very much should follow the rule of, if it's not broke, then don't fix it. The squad system and the ability to actually modify my loadouts for my weapons and my vehicles in-game were just two examples. Bring those things back. I don't want to ever have components of my game pulled out of the main game and then put somewhere else in my world. That's just silly. I couldn't even tell you the amount of time that I waste in a match modifying my loadouts because I haven't played the game in 3 months. I come back to it and I have to spend the first 15 minutes of the match that I'm in messing with my loadouts because nothing is where I want it to be or because I just need to switch things up because I haven't played in 3 months. I shouldn't have to do that in-game. I shouldn't have to do that through a second screen app. It's just, it's daft and it shouldn't be that way. You know, obviously, those were two big ones for me, right? Like, all of the changes they made from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4, those ones drove me absolutely crazy. Really happy to see the squad system back. Let's just hope it sticks around for the next entry. And again, let's allow players to modify their loadouts out of game and let them do it right in the menus. It's just every other game that has customizable loadouts lets you do it. It just works. It just works. Let's just do it that way. Now, one thing I would really hope for, right? You know, I would like to see an extended development cycle. I'm just really crossing my fingers that EA has no thoughts whatsoever to ask DICE or even another developer to develop the next Battlefield on the last generation of consoles. I know it seems like it'd be completely crazy for them to do that, but I was blown away that this year we still saw games being developed on the last generation of consoles. Call of Duty did it. Luckily, they handed it over to another developer, and that game didn't even include the campaign. It just had the multiplayer. I hope that DICE and EA both understand, like, it's time to leave those behind. Let's harness the full potential of the current hardware and the PCs and make sure that we have no restrictions because of last generation console development. We don't need that. No one needs that. That's a headache for everyone. Do away with it, push it aside, move forward. Now, DICE has actually done a fairly good job with Battlefield 4 of nailing 60 FPS on all platforms, obviously PC, however many FPS your PC can handle, but it was really nice to have that huge player count on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 with 60 FPS. Considering there are so many games with these larger worlds that are coming out this year that can't even manage 60 FPS, it's still awesome to look back and see that DICE has been able to nail that. Like, that is awesome. I love that. And I mean, there's no denying at the end of the day that DICE is a great developer. They've made some wonderful games over the year. The Frostbite engine, to me, is a masterpiece. The audio design in Battlefield is some of the best in the business. And it's for those reasons that I come back to Battlefield. No matter how down I feel about 4 and just how much the game has lost its luster for me, there's a part of me that loves what makes Battlefield special. The gunplay, the sound effects. For me, one of the biggest things that 4 did was really evolve and move forward with the weapon customization and loadout settings that Battlefield 3 introduced. You know, I love being able to actually put different sights, different style red dots, different style foregrips, suppressors. You know, that stuff is awesome. If they took that system even further in the next Battlefield, I'd be super stoked about it. I'm a huge firearms guy in real life, and I love being able to tinker with weapons that I will probably never get my hands on in real life inside of video games, being able to customize them to my will and make them my own personal firearm. That's really cool. More stuff like that in the game is definitely always welcome. I'd love to see them take that system even further. I think a lot of us agree with the character customization. You know, Battlefield, yeah, it's a team-focused game, but there's nothing wrong with giving players the ability to individually customize their soldier a little bit more. Things like that are definitely on, you know, the high end of my wish list, the sort of fictional end. Definitely very much just crossing my fingers. The chances of something like that actually being implemented are very slim. I mean, really just to wrap things up, Battlefield is a franchise that is obviously near and dear to very many people's hearts. There's a lot of us that were, I would say, damaged a little bit by Battlefield 4's launch, the disaster that it was. I think there's a wound in just about every member of the Battlefield community that is probably not going to heal. At least not until DICE launches another entry in the franchise that proves that they can make a game at launch that works, that doesn't need a year of fixing, and, you know, also make a game that, again, caters to the community. You know, it seems crazy to say that, right? Like, I know the developers need to develop the game that they want to play, but when you are building a game that's lifespan relies practically 100% on its community, on its player basis, you need to look at what the community is looking for in the next entry. You need to look at what they've always been happy with, and of course, there's nothing wrong with throwing new things their way, you know, but it definitely is a matter of saying, you know, what is the community saying? If they're all... everyone is shouting, the numbers are even showing that something just doesn't work. Battle log, don't continue to push it. You know, recognize when something just isn't gonna happen. And I think they can heal that wound. I think they can at least close it up. You know, I think all of the work they've done post-launch with Battlefield 4 has really impressed me. The performance has improved on the Xbox One even. We've seen, you know, better connections. I love what they're doing, like I said, with the night maps and the community map. Like, that stuff's super cool. Awesome to see them supporting the game at no cost to the players. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. You know, that follows in line with what we talked about with games as a service. You can have games as a service in a multiplayer experience as well. That's something I very much want to see with the next entry. It's something they're already doing with Battlefield 4. You know, just fingers crossed that DICE can pull together something really special once again. I imagine that, you know, any developer who goes in developing the next entry in their beloved franchise is going to sit down and say, you know, how can we make the best possible Battlefield we've ever made? And I hope that DICE is able to do that for themselves as well as for the community. If you guys have any thoughts you'd like to share of your own regarding Battlefield, the future of the franchise, anything that you have on your personal wish list for the next potential Battlefield game, let me know. Share it down in the comment section below. Let's get some discussion flowing, and I will very much see you in the next one.